Okay, hello, this is Wmpyr here to talk about partner drills and putting it together into a system, like a nice package set. That's what we're talking about, partner drills, okay? And the one on the left in pink is PFS, which is Progressive Fighting Systems, which I am not any kind of affiliate. I am, not a official or former student of any kind. I just want to make that very, very clear. This is just my personal notes on progressive fighting systems. So this is my interpretation. It may not be 100% accurate. Okay, so PFS is a world famous system um, developed by Sifu Paul Vunak, who is famous for being Professor Danny Nosanto's student. And you know, I understand that there has been some negative stuff talking about Sifu Paul Vunak recently, and I don't know the guy, but some of these things sound very, very, very bad, and I'm not here to necessarily ignore or promote any of that. Obviously, I'm against that. If you're gonna behave badly or, you got some kind of problems, that's I hope he gets help and I hope he's able to become better. That's all I can say. But as far as his material that I've studied, so I'm separating the human being from the work. His work to me is genius. Okay, so I just putting that flat out. This is kind of the way that I see Steven Seagal, right? There's been lots of negative stuff coming out of the guy, and it seems like a lot of it, or at least a big portion of it, is based on some kind of truth, which is, I'm getting bad vibes when I watch his interviews. And, like I said, I don't know the guy, but I'm not going to ignore my red flags. And I definitely don't support any of the negative stuff that's been said about him because I don't think you should behave that way if any of that is true, which I suspect a big portion is. Just my opinion, okay? But once again, I don't know him, so I can't, prove any of that, and I don't care. I'm not here to do that. But I enjoy his old movies, some of his movies, even the newer ones, I enjoy a lot. So just separating the work from the person, not to ignore or excuse the person's behavior. That's all I'm saying. Because some of his interviews he's had, he does not behave like a gentleman. That's all I can say. Anyhow, anyhow, let's go down to the PFS method, and I'm comparing it to my method, which is the B1 Escrima. So I'm not saying that mine is better or one is better than the other. No, this is going to end up coming down to preference and also for study purposes. That's why I'm making this video. So I'm excited to make this video. Even the stuff that I just talked about right now about Sifu Paul Vanek and Steven Seagal, I do think that is an important thing because you know the saying, never meet your heroes kind of thing. These are things that we have to deal with in real life. So how do you deal with that? Well, one of the ways is to separate. And by separating, I am not excusing or ignoring the bad behavior, which is a lot of people tend to do. People are like, I love Jackie Chan. He must be a wonderful human being. Look at it. He does comedy. He just seems like he's so fun to be around. So he must be an amazing human being. And that is not a realistic perspective. We don't know anything about his dark side and and I'm not condoning the guy. If you were in his position, which none of us are, but if we were, we may not even have a choice. I've seen some videos where he's been criticized, and you know, like I said, he may not have a choice. This may be more powerful forces forcing him to be a certain way, and at some point, he does. Maybe he caves in a little bit. I don't know, or maybe he's doing it to protect himself, his family. I don't know. We don't know. That's the bottom line. But um, I just don't want to have that viewpoint where we go, this guy's a movie star, or this actress is amazing, a movie star, so we're going to worship them and they cannot be any kind of bad. They're only perfect, which is BS, and that's a not healthy mind to be in, you know? Same with Bruce Lee, same with any celebrity. So I do think that is an important message, but that's not the main point of the video. So let me move on to the video. Okay, so I like I said, I'm comparing the two here. This for me is exciting for study purposes. So progressive fighting systems, Sifu Polvanak, to me, the genius, the real genius of what he did is when you get someone like Professor Dan Inosanto, who is an amazing genius himself, right? And Sifu Polvanak would probably say, oh, Professor Dan is just on another level, that he's like a, super, super genius. From what I've seen on videos, I have to agree. Professor Dan just seems like, if I wanted to learn about martial arts, just any style, just martial arts, period, that man, Professor Danny Dos Santos, seems like a walking encyclopedia. And he's one of those, to me, that has definitely embraced student for life. He's one of those guys. 100%. He just keeps learning, learning, learning. And to this day, I think he's still active in the martial arts world. Learning, practicing, teaching. I mean, the man's a machine. I can see why Bruce Lee was like impressed with him and took him under his wing. Bruce Lee was lucky to have Professor Dan, is the way that I see it. I know up until more recent times, I was thinking the opposite. Like Professor Dan Inosanto was lucky to have Bruce Lee. Now I'm really thinking it's more the opposite. Now more and more, I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying that I've come to respect, admire Professor Dan a lot more in more recent times than I did initially. So that was on me. I had the wrong impression of him. And anyway, that being said, I will say this. I think the way he teaches, that what I've seen on YouTube, this is not going to work for me. The man is way too knowledgeable. He knows way too much. He's in a way too high level. He goes way too fast, covers way too much. And I would be like, whoa, whoa, you need to slow it down, Captain. This is a good way to show someone nothing is to show them everything. So you're teaching me nothing right now because it's just too much. I'm being overwhelmed. I was like, you gotta slow it down, bro. So as a teacher, it doesn't work for me. So in my viewpoint, I think he's not a good teacher in that sense. I would need to record that stuff, and I'd have to watch it over and over and over and over and over. Um, yeah. Now you guys may disagree, and that's fine. That's completely fine. Just my opinion. And I hate to say this because everyone that meets him probably says he's an amazing teacher. I'm not talking about his personality and how nice and all that. I'm just saying that he's just too high on another level for me, and I can't keep up with the stuff that he's showing. So uh, it don't work for me. So in my eyes, I'll just say it flat out, is a horrible teacher. Sifu Paul Vunek, on the other hand, got this amazing person, Professor Danny Inosanto, who knows so much and teaches so much, and he organized it to what you're seeing here. As far as partner drills, because remember, that's what I'm talking about here, partner drills. So Sifu Paul Vanek organized there's more partner drills than these 5, even in the PFS. And I'm sure he learned even more from Professor Dan, but he condensed it, put it together in this set, 1 through 5, what you're seeing right here. That to me is genius and brilliance. That is the brilliance of Sifu Paul Vanek. Because the source material, which is Professor Dan Inosanto, is just, he's like teaching everything. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it. It's like, bro, you're teaching me so much. and it's a lot, and all of it seems good, and all of it seems amazing. I don't know how to put it together. Sifu Pavanek did for you right here. The 1 through 5, as far as partner drills, this is easy to understand. This is genius. This is amazing for its simplicity, which Sifu Pavanek I've never seen a video or written where he came out and said this, but I believe he was able to do this because of Captain Fairbairn's influence, whether it was directly or indirectly. And by directly, I mean, Sifu Pavanek actually looked at um, Captain Fairbairn's work and said, I'm going to model it after. He's never come out and said that. So, but I feel like there's a big similarity in simplicity, easy to understand. You want your special forces people to be able to pick it up right away, kind of thing. Yeah, that's Captain Fairbairn, So, like I said, either directly or indirectly, I feel there's a definite connection with Captain Fairbairn. For me, I say it to you guys flat out. Mine is 100% directly influenced by Captain Fairbairn, just not officially, because I'm not no lineage or anything like that. It's just me. One day, I found a book, and it was Captain Fairbairn's book in 1994. I'll never forget it, and I've been studying it ever since. So, for me, it's 100% from Captain Fairbairn. Okay, so anyway, next thing is um, let's go into PFS 1 through 5. Long range, numerada, sombrada, hubad from the guard. From the guard means the guard position. This is BJJ. Okay, so Sifu Pavanak was doing Gracie Jiu Jitsu before the world knew about it. He was ahead of the times, and he said he introduced it to uh, Professor Danny Nosanto. He was the man responsible for bringing Gracie Jiu Jitsu to the Jeet Kune Do tight knit circles there. So, way ahead of the times. So, anyway, number 5 to me is another stroke of genius on his part where he got a Filipino martial art partner drill and put it with the guard. I'm not saying that this is something I want to do, but I'm just recognizing the genius behind it. He took Hubad and applied it from the guard position. The person inside the guard throws punches, and the person on the bottom, on their back on the ground, is in the guard position, and they're using Hubad. And what that does with this 1 through 5, what it does is it gives you a sense of distance and putting your techniques together, because Sifu Pavanak follows the Jeet Kune Do 4 ranges of combat, which is kicking range, punching range. I think they just call it, oh yeah, they call it trapping range, which is the clinch. He says it's the clinch. And then number 4 is ground range. So those are the 4 ranges that they do. I have a different set of 4 ranges of combat, but mine comes from watching Filipino martial arts. I noticed that there's long range, medium range, close range, and ground range. And if anything, that's closer to what Bruce Lee had for ranges rather than later on where they talk about in the Jeet Kune Do community circles where they start talking about what I just said, which is the kicking, punching range, and then the trapping range, and then ground range. So anyway, and by the way, I don't want to go off too much into a tangent, but that's not a coincidence that my 4 ranges of combat is more similar to Bruce Lee's rather than the current Jeet Kune Do communities, which they just use as a guideline anyway. But it's because Bruce Lee got it from, I believe, from fencing, the idea from fencing, and mine also, I got it from watching Filipino martial arts, which takes me back to Espada y Daga, which is fencing. So I believe I have that similarity there. So at least in thought pattern. But anyway, I'm going off track. So let's go back to here. The long range for Sifu Paul Vanak's PFS partner drills here. Long range, What he does is basically, it looks like boxing. And he's like, yeah, just, move around, have light footwork. It's kind of like Muhammad Ali type, which Bruce Lee was a big fan of. So it works for Jeet Kune Do people too, to do that and just move around, keep the distance kind of thing. Number one and number five are definitely influenced by combat sports, which is boxing, number one, and then number five is BJJ. Those are both combat sports. Two, three, and four are traditional Filipino martial arts partner drills, numeradas, sombrada, and hubad. Okay, and so Sifu Polvanek put all those together, and it fits. It works. Like I said, it gives you a sense of understanding of how the ranges with the techniques work, and especially the partner drills, how they kind of fit in. Okay, but for me, like, there's a little bit of overlap, especially with two and three, and yeah, it can get a little with three and four. I mean, I think your best bet is especially for number four, when you switch to a training knife, then you really feel like, oh, this is really, really close quarters kind of thing, But uh, it could easily, if you're doing it at empty hand, then three and four is, you're not really going to feel that much of a difference. So yeah, I kind of not a big fan of that, and I also feel like those drills, especially when it comes down to number five, can be a little bit more realistic. It kind of shows you that the hubad is kind of helping you how to deal with the beginning phases of a punch, but not a full-blown real punch. Because if you try number five, just go to an MMA gym and try it, and go full contact. It's not going to happen. I guarantee you, it's not going to happen. So because for as far as FMA goes, and you learn these partner drills, and then you go, how do I apply this to full contact? This gives you an idea. His method gives you an idea of how to start working that in together, how to start blending it in together. So in that sense, it's genius and it works and it's great. But for me, I don't care about that. I don't view it that way. I view it as I don't need an explanation for Hubud is the way. If I don't see it happening, I'm not going to practice it. I'm not going to use it, kind of thing. Um, I'm past that. Should I say? I've done the Hubud. I'm not saying I'm a master at it, but I've done the Hubud. I've done the Sombrata, Numerata. I've done that stuff, and now is for me is evolving. Is what I've been doing. So my number one, the diamond block, comes from the force to force block, and it's really one of the most realistic things that I feel like I can teach you. I am confident to teach this to you, whether you're a kid, an adult, or an elderly person. You know, I feel like this is what you want in your arsenal, 100%. Out of everything that I teach, or everything that you're seeing here, including PFS, I feel like it's by far the most valuable skill that you want for real application and self-defense. That's just my opinion. I just feel like the percentage rate is the highest technique out of everything I've ever seen. So that's the diamond block. Number two is the sombrata, but it's divided. It is divided. Why? Because to me, the biggest problem with sombrata is that by connecting it, you're doing too much, and by doing too much, it's far from realistic. It turns more into a dance choreography. It turns more into like, let's follow the sequence kind of thing, and that makes it unrealistic. And once again, you're doing too much. That's not the way it's going to look like in real life. So by dividing it, and this one of the hints that I've seen is with the Dog Brothers. Like for example, they just practice like one person does a roof block and the other person does a what they call a caveman, where they're just aiming for your crown full swing, and you're receiving it with a roof block, and you're just going to go back and forth, um, switching turns. So I do roof block, now you do roof block. I do roof block, you do roof block. Like so, you know. You strike at my head, I strike at your head. You caveman, I caveman. You caveman, I and just it's just basically you do one move, I do the defense. And then we switch. So we're just basically doing one set of moves over and over again. Why is that more realistic? Because you can put in power. That alone I learned from the Dog Brothers watching their instructional videos. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but just saying, to me that was genius, genius. So I follow in their shadow of their footsteps, and I do the same thing. I divided the Sambrata up. Now, I also put in chaos elements in there where you don't know what's coming. Like, what if it's a strike to the abdomen, like a thrust, or it's a caveman? I don't know which one is coming. So that's a little bit of chaos. It's safe chaos, but we could practice this with a lot of power and still be safe. So I put the chaos in there to make it more realistic. And same with the diamond block, I put in elements of chaos. And same with number 3, which is the Heaven 6. I put in elements of chaos in there as well. Heaven 6, you're going to be even closer. So diamond block, the goal is we want to get to long range. And that's what the diamond block partner drill will encourage. Number 2, the sombrata, is you are going to be in medium range. And then plus now it's your turn to attack back. You're definitely going to want to be in medium range. And then number 3, Heaven 6, is you're going to be medium range, if not closer. You're getting there. Why? Because with both arms committed, you're going to be more in a square stance, and therefore you are going to be closer to the opponent. And once again, I put in elements of chaos. Number 4 is full-blown clinch. And for the clinch, I really, so I don't know how else to put it, is that I could not find a Filipino martial arts partner drill that was better than pummeling, so I chose pummeling over it. So to me, pummeling is far superior than hubad. It's way more realistic. It's to me, it's where to go. So I teach pummeling and I practice pummeling, and from here I have lock flow, but I don't know how to put it together to where we can make it a partner drill. And the other thing, missing ingredient, is clashing, which is what we really want to train for, is clashing. How do you go from striking into grappling safely? And that's missing. And I realize that, and it eats away at me. And maybe in the future I'll come up with it. But as far as right now, this is the best that I can do. This 5 that you're seeing is the best that I've got right now. And I feel like it's way more realistic for you guys for number 4 to just do pummeling over hubad. This is my opinion. This is just my personal opinion. Okay, you don't have to agree. And then for number 5, I'd rather do position drills than hubad from the guard. BJJ, just your basic. This is like what they teach the military. It's like one person has the guard, and with little to no resistance, gonna pass the guard, and then from there end up inside, and then the person underneath the side is going to escape the side, and then take that person down and end up inside. Now at that point you can mount. The other person can do a mount escape. Now back in the guard, and you could branch out into different directions. And the main thing is you just keep going and going through this BJJ basic fundamental map, and that's what's important there. Is to get that map down to give you a sense of idea of where you're going to be traversing in real combat when you end up on the ground, where you want to be, where you want to go, where you want to head. And then there's a bunch of details in there, like how to put your weight, how to hold them better, how to create gaps, what kind of submissions to do, all that kinds of stuff. Those are all details. The main idea is the position drills. Um, Judo had this, amateur wrestling had this, but neither one of those arts before the UFC, they did not put it together in a hierarchy. So to me, BJJ, Sambo included, all of those are fantastic grappling arts, but they did not put in a hierarchy system that was easy to understand like BJJ, where they say back mount's the best by far. That's what you want. And they proved it in I don't know how many fights. You know, they had full contact vale tudo, anything goes vale tudo fights, and they proved it over and over and over again. You know, where you want to take the back and mata leon. You know, you get him in a sleeper choke, right? Um, and how do you first get the mount, and then from there you punch them, and when they turn, get the rear naked choke. You know, so they've shown that over and over and over. That kind of hierarchy was missing in judo, in sambo, in all of those styles, amateur wrestlings that showed wonderful grappling. But once they got this hierarchy position, once they understood it, those guys today are amazing. As you can see, they are a force to reckon with. Amateur wrestlers hold some of the best, I think, records in the UFC to this day. You know, they hold some of the most uh, prestigious records. But anyway, yeah. So number 4 and 5, yeah, that's what I took instead. 1 through 3 is FMA, my own FMA that I evolved off of traditional FMA. It's no longer normal FMA, is what I did. And 4 and 5 are from wrestling, amateur wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, straight up. You know, so yeah, those are my 5. I feel like mine is a little bit more clear, just my own personal opinion. And hey, if I thought Sifu Paul Vanak's 1 through 5 was better, I would be doing his. I would. I really would. I have no problem going, oh, that one makes more sense. I like it. It's better. It's more realistic. I would do it. I don't feel that way. That's the honest truth. Sure, I'm biased, of course. This is what I developed. It took me, 3 decades, over 3 decades. But so yeah, it's I'm super biased. I get that. Um, One thing, let me make more clear, is number one, like I said, for them to come hit me, that means I am in range, which means medium range is where they could hit me. But the diamond block helps me get out into long range. So my number one isn't exactly long range, but it's going out to long range. My number two, sombrada, is literally you're going to be in medium range because you're hitting back and forth, back and forth. So at this point, I'm not super concerned about footwork. You're going to do a natural, maybe a little bit, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because, sometimes you do have to get out of the way. But more so, number two is going to be pendulum. And from there, you could go into pendulum footwork, but it starts really with the pendulum body shifting, which is, I just made that up. I've never heard that being said before. Pendulum body shifting. I made that up. Body shifting normally is twisting, is what Professor Bram Frank calls body shifting. That is a twisting on the balls of your feet. Pendulum body shifting is you're leaning forwards, leaning back. But I don't see why you cannot lean left and right, which also means you could also lean diagonals. I'm going off on a tangent, so I'll stop it right there. But it's leaning back and forth, back and forth. Okay, that's really number two. But from there, like I said, you can go into pendulum footwork, which FMA people do. And I'm not saying that's not invaluable. I can definitely see it coming into play. If you have to move, you better move. Number three, Heaven 6, this is going into the clinch. Okay, so we're starting with medium range, going into closer, possibly. Okay, so that is what the Heaven 6 can do for you. Or you're going from medium range and starting to move away from it. Okay, so number three is you're doing more with the medium range. Number two is you're more locked into medium range. Number three, to me, is you're more, like I said, moving in or out. When you put in the chaos element, you will have to move out because that's how it is. You just, unless you're Neo from the Matrix, it's way too close, and you can't be dodging strikes from there. It's just way too close. So that's number three. But number three, in as a whole, feels closer than Sombrata distance wise to me. So that's why number three comes after the Sombrata in this partner drill, because it is, at the end of the day, distance governs this. And so number four is now your full blown clinch. Number five is your full blown on the ground. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that I know it's a little bit tricky, but I hope that gives you at least an idea about the ranges of attack and how the partner drills fit in. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. So, all right, I've talked long enough. That's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.